The Whitney was a runaway, and boy, Gun Runner, even for being a heavy favorite, 3-5 at post time, sure was impressive on Saturday at Saratoga Racecourse. Chris Honorato and Brian Mariano, the closer, in for Roger all week long here on Big Board Sports and 104.5 The Team. Our horse racing analyst, and he's with us every day except the dark day during the meet, is John Pricci, and he is brought to you by Xpressbet and his bankroll play of the day, which we will certainly get to here. $100 to break down for the feature race at Saratoga each day. John, good morning, man. What did you think of Gun Runner's performance Saturday?
Well, first of all, good morning, Chris and the closer. Good to be on with you guys. And, I heard you mention, 3-5 on the price. Man, he made that look like a big price, didn't he? I mean, the way he won. I have to give some credit to the jock, Florent Giroux. Now, yes, he was on the best horse. We know all of this. But he's given weight away. He gave 3 pounds away to Keen Ice. All Keen Ice ever did was to be the only 3-year-old to beat American Pharoah during his Triple Crown year. And he gave 7 pounds to a couple of other good horses. And, he did make them look like also-rans. And why I'm giving Flo credit is because he didn't get in the horse's way. One of the entries put a rabbit in there. He stalked the rabbit. I don't know why the rabbit didn't go faster. If you're a rabbit, you don't go to the half in 48. You go to the half in 46, especially if your stablemate a late runner. But in any event, he stalked him comfortably, and rather than choke him down at that point in the race and wait for some of the closers, putting the closers in the race by slowing down the pace, he went on with it. And he gave him his head. He kept him in his rhythm, which was very important. So he has a clear lead. He opened some advantage into the stretch. But then he sat down on him. I guess it was just approaching the 8th pole. And I'll tell you what. I mean, to run a mile and an eighth in 147.71 off a slow pace like that and under 124 pounds was really, really remarkable.
John, it's amazing to think, too, when you watch the race, and not only how visually impressive the 5 1/4 length win was, but, of course, to see the pictures of the extra shoe, that extra weight that he was carrying for the last half mile of the race. Watching Naira break it down, how much more impressive does that make this performance?
Well, of course it does. I mean, they say, there's one way to win. There's 1,000 ways to get beat. Well, boy, if that doesn't make it 1,001. And you know what? Barbara Livingston, if I were like a photographer for a living, I mean, I'd try my damnedest to get her barred because this gal is where she needs to be all the time. I think she's won 3 or 4 Eclipse Awards, and she's probably on her way to winning another one this year. That was a great picture. I was astounded. And naturally, I watched the race live, and I didn't catch up to all of that until the next day. And it was astounding. And yeah, I mean, for him to do what he did, and and he galloped out just so nicely afterwards. And I was in the paddock, waiting for the horses to come in before the race and everything. And overwalks Steve Asnies, and I look at him, and I'm saying, wow. For a guy who's going to saddle a 124-pound high weight where all the pressure is on and the whole world's looking at you and you got a target on your back and everything, man, was he loosey-goosey. And I was saying, wow, he must have so much confidence. And I think, whatever it was, 15 minutes later after that, we all found out why he was so confident.
Yeah, Steve's an interesting character, Preach. Now, my question to you is, in a lot of the talks around the track Saturday after the race were obviously the talks of the older male division between Gun Runner and Arrowgate. Arrowgate losing a couple weeks ago and will run again in the San Diego in a couple weeks. Do you think that this brings these two horses even now, or is Arrowgate still ahead of Gun Runner?
Well, this is going to be heresy with a lot of people, okay? But I get a vote in the NTRA poll, and I wrote a sub-headline yesterday. It's up on Horse Race Insider today. Let the arguments begin. And I saw with there were 4 or 5 comments. I was afraid to use because I said, I'm voting Gun Runner #1 this week, but this is the reason why. Listen, if they both bring their A-plus game to any race, and they meet at equal weights, I don't say that Gun Runner is better than Arrowgate. In fact, I think Arrowgate is one of the best horses I've ever seen in my entire life. But just like going into like the NCAA tournament or whatever, It's what have you done for me lately? And you want the guy that's hot and so forth. Well, you know what? When Always Dreaming came into the Jim Dandy, he had a little something to prove because his Preakness was so disappointing. And whether he proved it or not, that's beside the point. The point is that he sort of semi-proved it. Well, you know what? When Arrogate worked last week and Bob said, okay, I'm happy, we're staying here, we're not going to ship to Saratoga for the Woodward, we're going to keep him here, we're going to run in the Classic like we said we were going to run, that would be enough for me because this guy is having a year. I mean, he's Bob Baffert, okay? He's been in the Hall of Fame for a long time, and he's probably having one of the best years I've ever seen a guy have. But he's coming into the Pacific Classic August 19th. I guess that's 2 weeks from this past Saturday. He's got a little something to prove because, it's one thing to be flat, not put in your race. You're using the race as a prep. It's your first start since Dubai, and you're racing over a racetrack for the first time. And Del Mar, like Saratoga or like Churchill, like any racetrack, Belmont Park, they can be quirky for certain horses. But boy, I mean, he failed to draw a breath that day. I mean, I was shocked with his action, which he had absolutely no action at all. And there's one thing about being flat, and then there's what he did. Now I would put all my confidence in Bob Baffert, but that's what it is. It's confidence, and just to start a little bit of a discussion. I voted him number one because you know what? He came out of Dubai. Yeah, Arrogate handled him very nicely in Dubai. But after that, Arrogate rested, and all this guy did was to come back and win 2 Grade 1s, and they're important Grade 1s. Stephen Foster, one of the best handicap racers in the country, and the Whitney. Well, the Whitney's legendary, and we saw what happened. So just to stir a little conversation, we voted him number one this week, and Arrogate number 2. And I don't expect my colleagues to agree with that. I would think that Arrogate probably will maintain his course.
Well, here's hoping we see the head-to-head matchup again in November. I know Steve Asmussen, when we asked him in the winner's circle on Saturday, he said no one in horse racing wants to see that more than he does. John Pricci with us here on 104.5 The Team. He's brought to you by Xpressbet, and John joins us at 11:15 every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.